hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator.
Welcome back to the next episode of BC Law's Just Law podcast. I'm Tom Blakely. We're here with Joe Prestejohn. So normally we talk about law and government and those types of topics, but today we're doing something a little bit different. We're focusing on something in the community, an institution in the community, which is Cabot's Ice Cream, and the man who's run it for quite a long time. Generations of students who've gone to this school, generations of residents know Cabot's. It's really amazing to me how going here for the last few years, there's people who come from all over the country and are here for a limited number of time, living in different places, but somehow everyone's heard of Cabot's. And so I saw recently in the news, getting ready to retire. Congratulations. Semi-retire. Okay, fair enough. And so I figured what, I've been coming there just for full disclosure. I'm originally from Newton, coming here since I was a kid. In fact, have the hat and everything. I figured, this would be a good discussion to have because you've seen generations of young people come and go through there. It's been a beloved place, I know, for myself, my classmates, everyone who's come here through the years. But before we get started, just tell us a little bit about yourself. Tell us the story. How did Cabot's get started? And take it away.
Well, my parents came here in 1969. They had a restaurant in Boston before they came here. And there was apartments up above. And it was right on Comm Ave, just down the street from BC, actually.
Wow.
Harvard and Comm Ave. And the apartments upstairs caught fire. And the whole building went. So they were there for 10 years. But it was a restaurant with a full bar in it. And my dad wanted to get away from the alcohol part of the business. He never liked that to be. And we came to Newton. So we've been here since 1969. So we're here 54 years. My mom and dad. And my sister and I used to work there from our youngest age. So I've actually never had a job. I've been there since I'm 11 years old. I've never worked for anybody. I never felt like working for my parents was work either. I just enjoyed it so much, growing up into it.
Great.
And we just enjoyed it.
Yeah, it's terrific. Now, where does the name Cabot's come from?
That actually right from here, right in the area that the BC Law Campus is almost in. It's Cabot School, Cabot Woods, Cabot Park, Cabot Playground.
Cabot Street, too.
Cabot Street, yep. And there was a gentleman, John Cabot, who left all this land to the city years ago.
Wow.
And one year I had a little child come in from, I think, Mount Alvernia.
Okay. The high school over here. Okay.
And she was one of those children that never took the answer as okay. She always said, well, but why? And I told her the same thing I just told you. And I said, tell you what, you go find out and I'll buy you a banana boat. And she went right down the street to Newton History Museum and they printed out a nice little paragraph about it, and she came right back.
And you were right. Very cool. I didn't know that. So Boston Globe in 2019, on the 50th anniversary of Cabot's, as you were alluding to, wrote, "This is where the children of Newton have come for decades to mark birthdays, recitals, and graduations. This is where they've gotten their first jobs. This is where, now grown, they bring their own children." And you were quoted in the article saying, "One of the most rewarding things is to see people come in with children who used to come in as children themselves." I'm just curious, what's it like to have played that unique role in the city, to run that place, this fixture of the community for generations now? What must that be like?
It's awesome. I mean, we create what we call ice cream smiles.
Okay.
And they come in at all different ages. And you can look around the restaurant at any given time and you'll see a table filled with people. There'll be young babies, parents there, grandparents there, and it's just every generation you can. Yeah. But for a family to come in like that grew up in here, to say this, I used to sit here, we used to come here when I was your age.
Yeah.
There's so few things in life. Everything changes so quickly now, which isn't a good thing, I don't think.
No, 100%. So 2019 is the 50th anniversary. Doing this for 50 years, which is very impressive. What was that like to get to that milestone?
That was great. We actually celebrated almost the same way at our 40th year, because my mother was 81 years old.
Oh, wow.
And I wanted her to be involved, and I didn't want to risk waiting another 10 years.
Right.
So we celebrated a big 40th anniversary. So it was kind of like a dry run. And it was fantastic. And then we did the 50th. It was fantastic. We did very similar.
Awesome. Now, oftentimes there's been a lot of people who've sat in that chair who were, different parts of the legal profession, politicians, et cetera. And oftentimes the question I ask is, well, what's made you stay at what you're doing? Why have you done this for so long? And I think you've been doing what you've been doing much longer than any of these folks. And I think are probably much happier doing so than what a lot of other people are doing for a living. But I am curious, nonetheless, what's made you stick with it for so long?
Anyone who loves what they're doing, it's not work.
Yeah.
And to me, it wasn't work.
Okay.
And it still isn't, kind of. I'm tired. I'm getting worn out. But things have changed so much drastically in the world and the work environment. But you got to have a passion for it. And to be in the hospitality business, which is the food service business, you got to be hospitable. And I enjoy people. I enjoy serving people. I enjoy having them come in. It's almost like you welcome them to your home. A business, a restaurant is almost an extension of your home.
Yeah, awesome. So, as you talked about, I mean, so many people go to Cabot's. It's so well known. I walk in, honestly, since I was about this tall, I couldn't even see over the table. But, one of the themes is all the stuff you got on the wall, all the recognition, and, sort of what you're talking about, everyone who's come through there and knows about it, just the institution it is in our local community here. I mean, at the law school, like, I can't say how many times myself, classmates, it's just sort of where you go. It's kind of what everyone knows and is close by. But I'm curious, being there and having all these people who've come through, who have been some noteworthy guests that have, come through that are notable? And what's it like to be at the center of that, where you're just seeing all these folks for generations that come through? Has there been anyone who's like particularly noteworthy? I'm sure there's some great stories that have gone on in that place.
There's been a lot of politicians come through, obviously.
Yeah.
We've had a few actors and actresses. The gentleman Krasinski from Office was in. He's a Newton guy originally, I think. Matt LeBlanc is another guy from Friends.
Mm-hmm.
But we had a lot over the years.
Yeah.
And, to me, every customer is a celebrity, you know. And that's how we treat them. We enjoy them all, and Elizabeth Warren was in when she was running for president, and I didn't know who she was. And the customer said, "She's over there." I said, "Oh." I just welcomed her to my house because she was in my house having breakfast. And then she went around and talked to everybody.
Very nice.
But it was nice. I mean, it is. If you have a welcoming place, and we do.
Yeah, great. I'm curious, though, all this time you've been doing this, and I'm sure obviously the world's changed a lot, and things have changed a lot, but what would you say is the biggest difference between when you got started and today?
Well, that's a tough one. I think people.
Yeah.
Everything is sped up so fast, and they expect everything right away. Especially coming at the end of COVID now, they expect everything to be back to normal, and I don't think we'll ever get back to normal. We're short-staffed all the time, and people just expect certain things, and we do the best we can. We do a lot with high school kids and young kids, and it's their first job, and you got to be patient, and we're tolerant, and we teach them, and I can teach anybody how to be a server. I can teach them, but I can't teach them how to smile. So as long as they can smile and be nice to people, that's the key thing. That gets you over the hump.
Yeah. Great. What would you say has been the most challenging thing about being in this for so long? I know there's so much that's so rewarding, but I got to imagine there's some challenges as well.
You got to stay relevant. I mean, people want to come in. I mean, we do a lot in the community, and we try to be out there for as many people as we can. And instead of spending money on advertising dollars, we give it back to the community. So it's a give back. What goes around will come around to you eventually. And we're very fortunate. Newton's been such a great community to us. That's how we made it through the pandemic.
Yeah.
I mean,
no, I remember it was one of the few, so you think back to 3 years ago, which I don't think many people often like to think back to 3 years ago, but I do remember you had like, outside there was some,
a big tent.
Just space and everything like that. That was great. So in contrast to the most sort of challenging aspect of this, what's been the most rewarding thing? I know you've talked about people and being able to put a smile on people's face, but I'm just curious your thoughts. Like, what's been the most rewarding thing of playing this role in the community?
I think we employ a lot of people. We have the main crew I have right now. Some of them have been over 25, 26, 27 years. Wow. And a couple of my servers have been over 30 years. So they're like an extension of my family. I spend more time with them than I do my own family. But one of the most rewarding things is seeing the young people that we employ grow up, become young adults, and they come in with their kids. And later in life, they come in and say, "Hey, we're here. We're back to Newton," and just to revisit everything and to go down memory lane with it.
That's great. One of the other things, though, and I know that there used to be friendlies, and I know there's not so many friendlies around here anymore, but one of the things I think would make Cabot's unique as opposed to other places is sort of the unique decor. You've got things on the menu like dentist disaster, sort of funny things that you don't really get anywhere else. Where does a lot of that come from? I'm just curious, some of these more unique aspects that you notice when you come to Cabot's. Was that your creativity or?
It's just me being creative. I mean, I went to school. I know I was never fond of school, and I enjoyed my classes like printing and graphic arts. That was going to be my major, and I enjoyed doing it. And I enjoyed doing this and coming up with new ideas. And I'll test it with all the employees, and they get the best idea, and they come up with the cute names and things.
Yeah, no, it's very unique. One other thing that's unique that seems to go on is every time, and I know a lot of other folks here I talk to, family, friends. There's always this situation where the day you always feel like ice cream's on a Monday, which I know you're closed on Monday, and it's always like, I really, and sometimes you even show up and then you realize it's Monday, and you're
no Sundays on Mondays.
No, exactly.
Yeah.
I also wanted to ask, just sort of bigger picture. advice for, I guess, today's generation, because I think in a way, a diner, an ice cream parlor is a sort of, traditional, I guess, perhaps Norman Rockwell painting sense. I know you talked about Elizabeth Warren coming through. I know when it's time for campaign season and elections, you often see politicians go to places very much like Cabot's and try to interact with people. And I think in a way, that setting represents sort of a calmer, simpler time in history where a lot went on there. And, here at BC Law, we're a law school where our students or graduates are going off into a very chaotic and quite honestly strange, divided world we're living in now. Is changing very rapidly, and I guess not always in the best ways. But you've seen and interacted with young people, much like ourselves, and very younger, who've come and gone for generations now. And I'm just curious, what advice would you give to young people today? I guess what lessons have you learned serving our community in this very unique and positive way for so long?
Well, whatever you do in life, you have to have a passion for, and you got to enjoy it. That's key, because it will come out. It will show when you complete your tasks, whatever it is. Mm-hmm. But I've always enjoyed working at Cabot. We serve everything in old-fashioned glasses and things. It's a throwback. Yeah. And that's why we have the old-fashioned soda fountain. Mm-hmm. But to have the ice cream sundae glasses and things, because no one uses glasses anymore. They use paper cups. Mm-hmm. And to see the fudge running down the sides and stuff, and you see them cleaning the plate. That's they'll sit there for 10 minutes licking the plate. But now the newest thing is everybody takes pictures of everything.
Oh, yeah.
So you deliver 6 enormous big sundaes to tables, and they're all got their cameras on, and they're taking pictures, and everything's melting. And me, I'm going, it's melting, eat it, let's go.
No, it's absolutely a trend. And I'm guilty of that myself. Now, I don't really post much to social media personally, but there is something about you see, because it's almost like an art form in a way. You see, it's like, oh my God, let's capture that.
It's visual. It's very appealing.
Now, finally, before we wrap up, so you are semi-retiring, as you said. I'm just curious if you could tell us a little bit more about what the plan is, what Cabot's will look like going forward. Is it staying the same? Is it changing at all? What do you see?
Absolutely nothing is going to change. These folks from Johnny's Luncheonette, Karen and Kevin Maskinson.
And that's who will be coming in to run.
They're going to take over the day-to-day operations of it. Okay. But I offered to stick around and help them, and they're very obliging to me to do that. And I can't go from working 100 hours a week to none hours.
Yeah, so exactly.
I enjoy it. And I would miss everybody. I miss my employees. I miss seeing the customers. Yeah. And they'll allow me to come and go whenever I need to. And I know the days that they'll need me the most, and I'll try to be there whenever I can be.
Very good. But, some of the, I think, unique aspects, the ice cream, the secret formulas, that's staying.
That's all staying. Everything's, they'll know everything eventually. You gotta let them in.
All the secrets. Well, Joe, thank you very much for coming in.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure.
Pleasure being here.
Well, this has been BC Law's Just Law Podcast. I'm Tom Blakely with Joe Prestejohn, talking about an institution of our local community and a place that generations of students here have loved and gone for many years. Until next time, that'll do for this one. Thanks for tuning in.